My next guest, I've known her as the homeless liaison officer for Tustin PD. And here she is. How's it going?
Good.
Jasmine De Leon is the former homeless liaison officer for Tustin PD. And now you are a what?
I'm a police detective now.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, so she got promoted to detective, and I said, oh, no. The day I found out that she was getting promoted to detective was the day that I wanted to reach out to her and ask her if she would come and sit on this bench and talk about homelessness. And she graciously agreed to do this, even though this isn't even her beat anymore. But for how many years were you the homeless liaison officer?
Almost 6 years.
6 years, you were the homeless liaison officer. And during that time, well, why don't you just explain, what does a homeless liaison officer do in a major police department?
Sure. So it's my primary function as the homeless liaison. We call it HLO for short, but is to connect people on the street with resources available in the community. And we're pretty lucky to live in Orange County and work in Orange County, and that this county and the city of Tustin does have a lot to offer people if they're willing. Another thing I did was work a lot with people suffering with mental health, whether they're housed or unhoused. A lot of people living on the street, that goes hand in hand. I'm sure you know. So it was a lot of connecting people with the resources, but as well as taking care of our community members that are dealing with maybe public nuisance issues caused by people living on the street, living in front of their business. They're trying to, run a business, a restaurant, etc., and they have somebody sleeping on their benches at night or stealing or things like that. So it's kind of full circle, I guess I'll say, from resources to enforcement to helping out the community, and then the side piece of mental health.
That's good. That's a good picture. So someone, I think maybe you even said, I said this to my wife the other day. I said, the homeless liaison officers in cities of a certain size generally know probably 90% of the people who are living on the street, one way or the other. Is that an overstatement, or is that correct?
I would say after 6 years doing it, I knew probably at least 80% of the people that live on the street. Especially, we had and still have our regulars, and then we'll have a couple of transitory folks that just happen to get off on a bus here, and here they are. But for the most part, especially in the central part of the city, I could see somebody on the street and know exactly who they were, their background, their story.
You probably then know how they're going to react when you roll up on them.
For the most part,
and so when you get to know someone like that, is over time, if you're rolling up on the same person all the time, there's probably a resistance to a certain extent. Over time, is there ever a breakthrough? Do you have any good stories of someone who you maybe had to bust a few times before they finally said, you know what, I'm ready?
There's plenty of stories like that, but there's one in particular. We had a male, and he's been out on the streets for years. Even before I was the HLO, I would see him out in the library courtyard or the Old Town Tustin area. I became the HLO. The shelter in the city of Tustin opened, and we got him in there. And I would say over a 1 to 2 year span, he was in and out of the shelter 9 times. I think he had the record for just in and out, in and out, in and out. So we weren't really making progress with him. I'm still getting complaints from the business owners in Old Town because he suffers from mental health and drug addiction. So he's out screaming gibberish and scaring the community, quite frankly. He's been arrested numerous times. I've 5150'd him, taking him on a mental health hold because he is schizophrenic. Goes, gets treatment for a day or two, then released right back on the street. All of his arrests are pretty minor violations, so goes to jail, comes right back out. So we weren't making a lot of traction with him. One day, I got a call from a business owner in Old Town, and they said, hey, he's out here causing a ruckus again. I have customers trying to eat on my patio. I said, okay, he keeps refusing to go to the shelter, though. I will go out there and talk to him. But just to let you know, we've tried for years.
Yeah.
That day, I just said, hey, you remember the shelter? I know you've been there a few times. Michelle, one of the employees that works there, is interested in helping you. Do you remember her? And through his gibberish and yelling, he said, yeah, I do remember her. I said, she's interested in helping you. Do you want to go back and try it again? And he said, yeah. So
Was he surprised that someone said, do you remember this person? She cares about you. She wants to help you. Was he surprised to hear that?
You know, I don't know that he was surprised to hear that. I think we were more surprised to hear that he wanted to help.
I can imagine, yeah.
So, you know, maybe he just had a moment of clarity in that. And so we had a car right there. We said, all right,
let's go.
You know, come on in, let's go. And, you know, despite all of his mental health and drugs and everything, he's been at the shelter now for close to 2 years.
All right, okay.
And is doing well. He's there, you know, pretty much 24/7, so he's staying off drugs and managing his mental health with the staff.
Is the next step for him some sort of permanent supportive housing? Is that generally what that would entail?
Yeah, that's generally what I think will be the next step for him. It's just a real challenge with his dynamic.
Let's talk about that then.
Yeah.
Because I've heard you say that the biggest challenge, no, I don't want to put words in your mouth. What, if you could wave a magic wand, given what you've seen, experienced with the people that you've helped that are truly living on the streets, not even just couch surfing or whatever, what do we need?
I think we're missing that link to house the people that want services and they're receptive, or at least in that moment, but they have the inability to live by themselves. Even if you gave them an apartment to live in, they're incapable of handling their basic needs without some sort of help.
Yeah.
So I think some sort of housing, I don't know exactly what the answer is or what it would look like, but some sort of housing for people with chronic mental health conditions that have the professional staff there to assist them to live their daily life. Right.
There's not enough of that from your perspective, because the people you used to keep rolling up on are people that if they were in an environment like that, they'd probably be okay.
Right.
But I also know that that you probably rolled up on, there's been cases where there's an adult and maybe the elderly parents are at their wits' end with this person, right? Don't you get called to houses and apartments where that's the norm?
Yeah.
And if that person can't live with their parents, could they live in an environment like that? I mean, what describe a scenario for someone who hasn't really seen this. What does that look like?
We've had plenty of houses where the adult children are, 40s, 50s, and they're living with a parent who's in their 80s, and they've lived there the entire life, and the parent's almost the enabler and hoping that their child will stop using drugs and stop drinking, and and the house is just in disarray, holes in the walls and everything like that, and it's almost like the parent's just given up and just waiting to pass on,
That's sad.
So, in that case, we try to connect them with mental health and take them to maybe like a Be Well in Orange or some sort of facility where they can get the treatment they need. Sometimes it's medication, sometimes it's some sort of counseling service, whatever.
What does that look like, though, for someone who, if they go to Be Well, they get quote unquote stable, and then what?
The hope is that they're going to continue taking their medication and be stable in their own home. Be Well has a pretty cool program where they can stay for several weeks, I think up to 3 months, and live there and really bring some stability to their life versus the 3-day, 72-hour, right?
Yeah.
A 5150 hold.
Yeah.
It's a good start, but how is that person going to be 3 days from now? They're not going to be fixed. They're not going to be
Yeah.
And you're trusting them to continue their medication. That's the really, really hard part with mental health, right?
Right.
You take medication and you start to stabilize and feel better. Hey, I don't need this anymore. It's like when the doctor prescribes antibiotics, you know, for strep throat or something, and
Yeah.
they say make sure you take it all the way in.
Yeah, and you're like, I'm fine.
You know, day 8 of 10, hey, I'm feeling way better. I don't need the rest of it, and then
Yeah.
you kind of relapse. It's hard to get someone who thinks that they're better to continue to take that medication, because as soon as they stop, they start to decline, and it's very hard to get them in the right mindset to get back on.
Yeah, no, I can understand that. And it feels like the 72-hour hold is often just a Band-Aid in a sense. It's 5150 is probably the most common. What we run into here at the rescue mission too is someone is a danger to themselves or others. Sometimes that's because they're suicidal. That's actually probably the most common view. But for someone who's acting out, that can 72 hours. To your point, all we're really doing is kicking this can down the road for 3 days so that we can kind of wipe our hands clean of the situation for a second. Would you agree that that's what it feels like sometimes?
Yeah, a lot of times it's just the cycles right back. It's the same thing, I think, when we arrest people, you know, for things like trespassing. We got to solve the problem right now for, you know, the resident who has this person in front of their house and won't leave, or this business owner who has this person in front of their store.
Yeah.
But the next day they're going to be back, just maybe somewhere else in another store.
Yeah.
Are we really going to arrest ourselves out of this problem?
Exactly. Okay, so what about, because I've also heard you say that you arrest people for drug possession. You take them in, and the way the laws are now, there's really no consequence. Does it?
We have had a small change that has helped us out significantly. Now, if someone has 2 or more prior convictions.
Oh yeah, is that Prop 35?
Yeah, we arrest them another time. Instead of what we used to do is give them a ticket. We're now taking them on a felony charge for 2 or more prior convictions. So we do get a little bit of help with the law change here.
Right. Now you call that help. People who are opposed to that would say people should be free to be able to use drugs all they want. But what you're saying is, I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like you encounter people enough that are just in and out because of drug abuse, that perhaps they would be better served by that, taking a time out from that for a while. Have you seen that now with Prop 35 in place, when people then they literally can't use when they're in jail? So have you seen improvements, or is it too early to say?
When I was working in the streets as HLO, they knew after the first couple months of it, is like, oh, this is a felony now.
This is a big deal now.
Yeah. So we got, I would say, some less open drug use, whereas before, when I'd encounter someone on the street and they'd have their foil and straw,
they wouldn't care.
It was like, give me my ticket.
And what was the consequence of that
as
ticket?
As an officer, you feel bad because you have this business owner standing right behind you, like, here's your ticket, sign here. And the business owner's like,
aren't you going to take this guy?
Police, aren't you going to do something? So, yeah. I think we have seen a little bit of reduction, especially people that are addicted to things like fentanyl and opioids, where it hurts to come off that for a couple days.
Yeah, it's rough.
In jail.
It's rough. It's terrible. But it's also a death sentence to a certain extent to just continue to use. And
the other thing is they have to have a way to fund that, and if that's your panhandlers at the off-ramp of the freeway, or stealing things from the store and then reselling them real quick, stealing things off people's patios just to try and fund this habit. And so taking people to jail for the drugs, I think, we're going back in the right direction.
I mean, unfortunately, that's probably the only way out, because it seems like that people that are bogged down in a fentanyl addiction, that unless there's an intervention of sorts, whether that be from friends or family or going to jail, we know where this is going to go.
I think in the 6 years I was doing this, I had people who were alcoholics, right, addicted to alcohol. I've gotten a handful of them into treatment that they completed and came back out. I never once had somebody addicted to, when I started, it was heroin, and by the time I ended, everyone was using fentanyl. Not one agreed to treatment. I could offer them the world. With housing, treatment, you have food, everything.
But why is that?
I think they're scared of the physical repercussions of coming off that.
Right.
There's medical assisted treatment, right? You know, Suboxone and other things, but they enjoy that feeling so much, the thought of not having that and going through the pain of coming off that.
Yeah.
They can't mentally,
Right.
you can't mentally have a breakthrough in
It's not only the absence of the high, but it's the literal hell you have to go through coming out of it. I've heard people say that just the fear of that is enough to not want to come back. So you're in favor? No, I'm not. Let's not go over there. Let me ask you, if you could be in charge, I've heard you say more mental health facilities. Would we probably we'd arrest people sooner if they're using fentanyl and just help them? Because at the end of the day, what do you think you're doing when you do that? Is your heart in trying to help them get past this, or is it just because, well, we got to clean them out from in front of this business or whatever? Or do you truly think that the only way that you can help them at that point is to take them to jail for a time?
Yeah, that if they're out using fentanyl and they're that addicted to that drug, you have to physically separate them from that. And at this time, that the only option is jail. We can't force someone into treatment.
Right.
I guess if I had a magic wand and I had a fentanyl addict, you know, folded over on the sidewalk, and I could say, hey, you know, you're going to go to treatment instead of jail, and send them off to treatment, I guess that would be pretty cool. But we can't. We're not in the business of kidnapping people and forcing treatment on them.
And that's the classic tension there in all this, is that we're a fairly, America is about freedom and personal liberty, and there's a libertarian streak to us that we don't just force people into things, but at the same time, you're on the front lines seeing the effects of fentanyl. You're on the front lines seeing this devastating drug, and you've even seen it evolve from heroin to fentanyl in your short term as in just the 6 years that you were the homeless liaison officer. So I think we need to listen to people like you who have seen it, that at a certain point, the only saving is taking people out of that environment for a time.
And even these people's families agree. I've talked to numerous drug addicts' families, and just begging for help and begging us to help
to arrest their kid,
their son or daughter, to get them off this stuff. And it's really sad when their own family can't convince them to put that down. I realize I'm a stranger to them, but their own family can't convince them. I don't know what else is going to. Well said. Well, I'm grateful for your years of service as a homeless liaison officer. One of the things I always admired about you from afar is that you truly did care about the people that you were helping out there. I know sometimes I still do.
I know you do. I know you do, and I know that there's sometimes that thought the police roll up on you. It's bad news, but you have a heart for the people that you were taking out of those environments, and you're probably missed in that regard, but I know you're doing great things as a detective, and I hope you find that fulfilling. And don't be a stranger to us, huh?
Of course.
All right. Thank you for coming today.
Good luck tonight.
All right. Yeah, you might as well roll by and make sure we're okay. All right. Thank you.
Take care, Brian.
All right. Okay. We are almost